Welcome back to the Virtues Museletter. I am your host, Barbara Mackenzie, and this is week number 8. This week I had been reflecting on the virtue of fortitude and really thinking about the present moment. The song by Gord Downie was very grounding. I don't know about anybody else, but I've listened to it about a dozen times with headphones on, and I like it every time a little bit more. And it's like there's a passion and a clarity that rises up when I listen to it, and that got me thinking about how we process our experience and how music plays a role. And last episode I talked about neurobiology and the research, which I don't know anything more about, but it's just got me thinking about how we metabolize our experience. So that's what I'm going to be talking about this week. And before we get into that, let me remind you that this podcast is about soul development. It's about what is our experience and how we integrate the virtues into our everyday life. Mixing the spirit of the virtues with the mass of our body and bridging the connection between body, mind, and spirit. So thanks for being here. And I hope you appreciate. Yeah, I'm going to cut that part. This week I've been looking at the difference between fortitude and forbearance, which was the previous episode's virtue. And I touched on it last week, but it bears consideration that they are very different in how they affect us. Forbearance, in my experience, is more of a big hug. It helps me, the strength around me, and call upon it. Whereas fortitude, it kind of feels like it comes from within me, it comes from the core. And when I call it, it cultivates within me as opposed to bringing it to me. I'm not sure if that makes sense, and I'd be interested to hear other thoughts about it. So write into me and let me know, or put your comments in the comment section. But the card of fortitude here says we cultivate it by strengthening our resolve to face whatever comes. And it's the same, unless we exercise it, unless we do our part, it lays dormant. It sits unutilized, underutilized. That is really, I think, the message this week, is that it is my responsibility to call upon fortitude to bear with me, to carry me, to bridge me. And when people are really suffering through hard times, we need to be able to call on something. And knowing that we can call upon something at the core can help to strengthen us and carry us through. It's a friggin' little miracle. It just feels nourishing. You know, the card says the word nourishing, but it feels nourishing. And I appreciate it. So that's some thoughts on this week from my journal reflections. And now we're going to move on to do a virtues pick. I am shuffling my deck of 100 Virtues Reflections cards from the Virtues Project. And if you'd like your deck, you can go to virtues.com shop.com. Or you can go to virtuesmatter.com and get an app for your phone. And that's just a couple of bucks and you get all 100 cards. All right, so here we go. I am picking for week number 8. Dignity. Dignity is a sense of worthiness and respect. It comes from remembering who we truly are and our purpose for being. When we are mindful of our own dignity, we hold ourselves with self-esteem, respect, and simple confidence. We move and speak in a graceful manner. We avoid actions that cause us to feel ashamed. We recognize the inherent worth of each person, whether or not they see it for themselves. We treat everyone with the respect and honor all beings deserve. We refuse to violate anyone's rights. When we value each other, we honor our Creator. And on the back of the card, there's a quote from Psalms 129, 13, 14 that says, "It was you who created my inmost self and put me together in my mother's womb. For all these mysteries, I thank you, for the wonder of myself, for the wonder of your works." The practice of dignity. I know my own worth. I carry myself with respect. I keep myself free of shame. I value all people. I avoid mistreating others. I act honorably. I honor everyone's rights. I am thankful for the gift of dignity. It helps me to walk tall. Well, it sure sounds like dignity is attached to our self-esteem and the mirror within us, our capacity to reflect internally and access the feelings. And this focus on shame is interesting. We avoid actions that cause us to feel shame. That line jumped out at me like a mirror. Some days I feel like the soul has a mission of its own, has a journey of its own, and it's to bring us into alignment and into awareness in terms of how or what their purpose is and how it works. In the back of my mind, I see it clearly, even though sometimes there is no words to even describe it. But when I read this card and I think about our inherent worth and how we treat one another, like we fall so short. We've lost the plot when it comes to dignity and valuing one another as our Creator wants us to do. What this card is calling me to is a deeper connection with grace, how I move, how I conduct myself, how I walk in life, how I show up for myself. It says here, it comes from remembering who we truly are. And I honestly think that who we truly are it's been washed out of us. It's been diluted. We've been unplugged from that remembering who we are. We've been unplugged from that probably forever. I mean, can't imagine that cavemen were plugged in, but maybe they were. Maybe being plugged in is like maybe animals are plugged in, babies are plugged in. Maybe it's that simple that we just have to let go of the grip that our egoic mind has on our life and our experience and let the spirit live a little. We can open ourselves to remembering how to honor one another, how to care and respect and honor each other. I'm not sure that we've ever understood it as a culture, like as a big society. There are stereotypes. Canadians, for instance, at one point were known for how kind and caring and helpful. I'm not sure that's the case so much these days. It's important to how we show up and how we interact with the world. How do I put this virtue of dignity into practice? And if I do, when I do, it amplifies the best of me. It helps me, if I am practicing and behaving in a way that helps me to avoid feelings of shame and guilt, then that benefits me and it benefits everyone around. It benefits us. So, this week, the questions that pop up for me is how do I practice dignity? What does it look like in my life in the moments? What what is it that I'm doing where dignity is actually engaged? And so putting this awareness into practice is part of what's, I think, really important right now, especially when it comes to thinking about dignity and getting really clear on how do I clean up my practice? How do I set into motion perhaps new behaviors that will clean up my act when it comes to mirroring dignity in a way that honors the creator? Because after all, isn't that the point of life? Now, in saying that, we take it to whatever degree our culture and our interest drives us to. So it just occurs to me that in order to cultivate the best of who I am does not require me to be a religious fanatic or a scholar of the world's sacred texts. Any individual can tap into these virtues and practice over time to exercise them and strengthen the fabric of who we are, which I believe cultivates and culminates into the health and wellness of our body, mind, and spirit synergy, the collective and the union of oneness within us, I believe, is this merging and amalgamation of me, myself, and I, body, mind, and spirit. So that's me and what I have to say about the virtue of dignity this week. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. And remember, if you're listening anywhere other than Substack, you are not getting the full treatment. So come on over to virtuesoftheweek.substack.com to subscribe and become a member and receive the Virtues Museletter in your email inbox every Monday. Have a wonder-filled week. And thanks for being here.